We are flying in this video in F1 25 My Team Career Mode. Quite literally, this is a genuine image from later on in the race. Somehow, the F1 games just continue to impress me. We've certainly had a bit of a roller coaster this season for sure on F1 25, and last episode was no different as we suffered a sensor fault and we had to contend with having no heads-up display, no data on the screen to see how we were doing. This was in the middle of qualifying, thankfully not the race. That would have been even worse really, and we actually turned it around, and it was a very surprising result last time out around Catalonia. A 1-2 for the team, no less, and the first repeat winner of the season of all people is Charles Leclerc, the man who started off with a double DNF back-to-back first two races, and with all the bad luck that we faced driving as him as well. Yeah, the irony that he is the first repeat winner is pretty crazy actually, and it puts us in a really strong position to try and close up to Red Bull in the Constructors' Championship. But Oscar Piastri doing a good enough job. Pierre Gasly as well, backing him up there in 5th place in the standings, means that even though we're second and third, we are still trailing in the Constructors. And so far into this season, into every single round, it's really just been pot luck of who's going to be in the top 10 shootout in qualifying, who's going to be up there in the race. I think maybe the only thing we've guaranteed is Ferrari being really horrendous this season with that ERS kind of battery big issue. That just means it hampers them in the race. Obviously nothing's really changing in the R&D chart terms, but we're so close together, this R&D chart so zoomed in that it's really anyone's game into every single round, which makes things very interesting, but also equally frustrating and surprising maybe. But off the back of a 1-2, we've got to be positive going into now one of my favorite races on the calendar, the Canadian Grand Prix. We'll be taking this on as Charles Leclerc. We are due to have an extra race driving as Tramnitz, because we did do an extra race driving as Leclerc for his home race at Monaco, but I have a little plan to even up which driver is taking on special one-off liveries, and I can reveal an upcoming special livery is going to be at the Austrian Grand Prix. So in order for us to be driving as him for that round, we are going to be driving as Leclerc for this one, but we will be making that extra race back up with Tramnitz no doubt later on in the season. So with that, let's go into the Canadian Grand Prix, driving as the man who just took his first repeat win of the season.
It is time to go qualifying in Canada. A historic track. Looks simple, it's anything but. Welcome to Montreal.
Really hoping that we're not going to be getting any sort of DRS faults or failures and sensor faults in this qualifying session. That'd be quite something if we were adding the sensor faults as another little characteristic of this car and team. Clearly the rear wing issues are here to stay, but hopefully it's not going to hamper us too much in quali, as we're coming off a high for Leclerc, winning in Spain, having won in Miami, the first repeat winner. And you know, we mentioned it last episode, that really was the first time it felt like from the outside when Leclerc was an AI that he was actually performing like a 99 rated AI. So in a weird way now, it kind of puts pressure onto me to actually live up to that performance we just saw from him, because he had that entire race under control, and you just know now stepping into that maybe we can't live up to that, but we'll try our best. And if we're going to do that anywhere, it's going to be here, one of my strongest circuits, one of my favorite circuits around Montreal, and we're looking pretty strong in Q2. We are second place, but Norris 3/10 quicker, so a bit of time to maybe still find. But Tramnitz is up there as well. You know, it was a 1-2, so Tramnitz's AI has got to be buoyed by that second place, that podium. So now as an AI driver, he is going to have that extra bit of focus, you hope, into this race. But it's going to be another strong competitive showing from the likes of the Honda guys. Verstappen, bit of a poor first lap for him in P9, as we're a little bit offset from everyone else, as we've got a little bit later to get a clean track ahead of us. But as we come to the line, it's going to be a 107.1, and that's going to be slower than we did in Q2, quicker than our Q1 lap time, but ultimately only good enough for P10. Everyone's gone quicker than us, and so we're under pressure 5 seconds to go. We're going to narrowly start our second flying lap as the checkered flag falls. But into turn 1, Ocon, Gasly, what are you doing? The two Frenchmen have had an absolute nightmare there with each other and with us. They were jockeying for position with each other, and then both of them blindsided and blocking the track. FIA, and I bet the FIA are going to do nothing about that because there's no mechanic for that in the bloody F1 game. If that was real life, both Frenchmen would be having penalties for blocking, illegally blocking there. What on earth was that? That was abysmal. And so, of course, we can't go quicker, and we end up 10th place, 1.7 off pole position, which is going to be Tim bloody Tramnitz, our German rocket ship, very much taken some momentum off that second place. Clearly 8/10 quicker than the next car. That's a bit crazy, but, you know, not surprising because we've seen plenty of times on F1 25 with the simulated times, the AI times in qualifying. They have been a bit zany sometimes, but that's pretty mad to be that far ahead as a single driver. But also, in a weird way, might just kind of show how much pace the car maybe has. I don't know, but Oscar Piastri, the championship leader, in second place, and Red Bull again consistent as ever with Gasly up there as well. We're in good company with Max Verstappen, but that is frustrating. There was no DRS fault, no sensor issue, but ultimately we still had you know, a qualifying session that was not smooth sailing. It was out of our hands. Wasn't anything to do with our car. It was two other cars, Ocon and Gasly, blocking us. Absolutely shameful stuff, but we can't do anything about it. Let's go to the race then and try and make up for it.
It is the second largest French-speaking city in the world and home since 1978 to the Canadian Grand Prix. Welcome to Montreal. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. Tim Tramnitz lines up on pole position, and Oscar Piastri completes the front row. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Gasly, Lawson, Lando Norris, and Sainz, Colapinto, Ocon, Verstappen, and Charles Leclerc, Aaron, Stroll, Alex Albon, Bortoletto, Hadjar, O'Sullivan, Pepe Marti, and Jack Crawford, Tsunoda, Doohan, Maloney, and Nikola Zolov completes the grid. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today? Hello everyone, welcome to the commentary box. I'm Alex Shakes and we say hello to Naomi Schiff. Okay, the start, so important. Tell us about how you ace a launch off the line.
Well, the race is certainly not won in the first lap, let alone turn 1. However, what you can do is prepare yourself ahead of time. Visualize what could potentially happen, different scenarios and where you could place your car. And that will better prepare you to make the right decision with instinctive timing.
So there's work to do from P10, but if we're going to come back in any race, I'd back myself to come back in this one, the Canadian Grand Prix. Tyre wear is going to be a factor, and that's why we're starting on the hard compounder tyre, as are the two Honda cars, interestingly. We've got Ocon on the softs, which is a pretty crazy choice for the start of the race. Maybe at the end could be a possibility for some people, including us as well. We might end up using all three compounds, but for now, the plan would be maybe hard, medium to hard, just to also open up an outside miracle possibility of a one-stop in case it would happen, but I don't think so. From the tyre we've seen so far this season and the typical wear around Montreal, I think it will be a nailed-on two-stop. Just a question of what tyre compounds people have available, what they're going to go for, and which, you know, what cars can do what, basically. But from P10, I'm hoping starting on the hards will give us an advantage once people have made their pit stops. We're in that clean air, and also when tyre wear kicks in a few laps time, the hard tyre will be the better race start, I am hoping. But the initial first lap or two might be a bit of a struggle, I don't know, to get warm up here. I guess we're about to find out, whilst our teammate Tim Tramnitz is on pole position on mediums, I believe. As we go to 5 red lights, having just had a repeat winner, are we going to have it again or a new winner in this season? Lights out, and we're underway for the Canadian Grand Prix. It is a to be expected sluggish start. We get attacked by the Williams mediums, and we're not moving forwards. Meanwhile, Verstappen is 3 wide. He's going around the outside for the double pass, maybe, on Sainz and Colapinto. Somehow, we're actually managing to wrestle this car through on the outside of the Ferrari, starting on 2 steps softer of a compound. The Ferrari is that washed this season that we've just done Ocon on the outside, on hards. And you know what? That feels like poetic justice for what happened in qualifying, where he blocked us, and hopefully we can somehow catch up to Gasly at some point later in this race as well and serve some justice there. Speaking of Gasly having a battle with Lando Norris in the Mercedes car, the two of them side by side into the hairpin. Meanwhile, it's Piastri and Tramnitz, the top 2 in the championship, closest together at the sharp end. So is that an indicator? Are we seeing an early sign of Tramnitz and Piastri being 2 of the standout drivers in the standings in this season? It's still early days, and I think we can still make a difference here. Driving as Leclerc, with how competitive things have been, I still think the man we just overtook, Max Verstappen, can make a difference here. But the McLaren is struggling, as it has done a few times, after a good qualifying, going backwards. But the problem is this time, Verstappen didn't qualify well. He started P9, and now he is in P9 again after a good lap 1 where he did make some overtakes. Gasly, Norris still swapping, and it's now the Red Bull ahead of the Silver Arrow, and that's helping us because that's just bunching everyone up in this train. But equally, it's kind of letting Piastri and Tramnitz run away with this. Is it just going to be them 2 fighting for this race win in Canada? That's a little bit worrying, and we're going to maybe need this cork in the bottle to be released at some point, as we're struggling to get the grip down. As you can see, opposite lock needed to keep this car going in a straight line, as myself, Colapinto and Lawson maybe all struggling for grip, as Colapinto just seems so slow out the hairpin. Typically has been a really great corner exit for the AI on this game, but Colapinto's so slow, maybe owing just to the hard tyre, I'm not too sure. But either way, we just completely did him on the outside. We're up into P7, and meanwhile, Verstappen, surprisingly, is down to 10th. Ocon has overtaken him in that Ferrari, so Verstappen really is struggling to get this McLaren going in this race, unlike previous races where he's really just wrestled that car to as high as he can get. At the moment, struggling, and we are now looking to get past Lawson on lap 5. So it's been 3 laps of being behind Lawson, and only now are we getting past, such as, just wanting to take it easy, let the hard tyre rubber in, and now getting into a bit of a rhythm. Saying that, though, the Honda cars are so quick in a straight line, and they're both attacking me either side. Bit of contact there. There's a bit of carbon fibre flailed out, and we're trying to get the nose turned in. The understeer is real on these hard tyres. We go very defensive, and Colapinto nearly goes right around the outside of us there into that downhill chicane. He's going to remain in 7th place, but us 3 hard tyres all fighting each other, and that's not helping any of us, because now the gap is all of a sudden up to 3 seconds in a flash to Lando Norris in the Mercedes ahead on mediums, as those guys try and overtake me. Colapinto has completely walked past us. Lawson tried to, but we fended him off. But it was basically a case of one of them was absolutely going to overtake us there because we didn't have as much battery as you'd want. We're going to come back at Colapinto, though. It's fine. And if you look at the top left on the timing tower, you may notice, despite this fighting, we're all three of us catching Norris now. The gap is back down to 1.5. So even though we're, probably losing time with each other, scrapping, we're all now catching up to these guys because the mediums are officially wearing out. The soft is probably completely gone off. I reckon Ocon's already made his pit stop. But yeah, despite us squabbling for P6 and track position to close up to these guys, all three of us are here now, right up behind the Mercedes and the Red Bull. And we've gone for the big dive into the hairpin to get the Mercedes and now try and stretch our legs on the back straight with a bit of DRS and battery use to catch up to Pierre Gasly. So far, no issues with the rear wing, which is good because we need it today here around Montreal to size up these moves as Tramnitz is in for his pit stop. So it's officially time for the first round of pit stops for the medium tyres, and that definitely means now this hard tyre is going to be the quicker compound compared to the mediums. Despite that, though, Norris gave us a good go into turn 1 to repass us, and Gasly is given a little bit of breathing room as I'm struggling to get the power down, as maybe we're also facing just a tinge of tyre wear, but we are now going to re-engage and catch up. But oh, Gasly comes in and he puts us off there. I always get put so off when someone comes into the pits in Montreal, because you're so focused on the car, not the brake zone sometimes. But we're going to carry on for even a further lap than was planned. We were meant to come in then on lap 12. We'll continue for another lap onto lap 13 along with Lawson, because the pace wasn't too bad, and if we can, give ourselves a bit of tyre delta on this next stint on the mediums, then I'll welcome it. Also, we'll open up, maybe possibilities of going to a soft if we decide to do that, but that's a decision for later on in the race. But we come in now for our first pit stop of the day, and oh, there's an issue on the front right. It's a slow pit stop. What the? We're flying! We're flying in the air! What on earth was that? That was the most bonkers glitch I've ever seen on the F1 game for some time now. Forget the slow pit stop from the front jack guy. Forget the slow pit stop from the front right tyre. We've got bigger problems. We just lost a couple of seconds being airborne. Here's a replay from that botched pit stop, and well, we're going to see what actually happens here. The camera's not going to follow us, is it? As there's the mistake, and oh, the car just simply goes off camera and then comes back from that angle. Let's see a different one now as we look through the replays from Chase Cam. What on earth has happened there? The car is lifted and levitated and bounced back onto the ground. We've gone so high, by the way, that we went up to Paddock Club level. Like... It's like our car has had enough and is going to the heavens. What on earth are these spectators thinking? I must wonder, because we are at eye level for these guys in Paddock Club. Then we go even higher. We're going so high that we've casted a shadow over some of the spectators. And then the view from on track is outstanding. It's a real shame you can't do photo mode in the pit lane during the race, so we can't get any closer. But look at the ground clearance we have here. We have cleared floor 1 of the Montreal paddock area. That is bonkers. Paddock Club can nearly touch the car. It's ridiculous. That is the craziest pit lane glitch I've ever seen. I've never encountered one myself. We've seen plenty of ones where, the car drives backwards down the pit lane or glitches through the garage building or something like that, or teleports onto the track from the pit lane. But I've never seen that, and then I've never had an experience of any of those before. That is crazy, and that has lost us valuable time. But it left me speechless, to be honest. I honestly I didn't know what to believe anymore with what's going on in this season. This season seems the most cursed season we've ever had on an F1 game in terms of issues happening. And that issue has meant that we now, you can clearly see, are behind Lawson. So despite coming in earlier, we've actually been overcut by Lawson on much more worn hard tyres. We would have been way ahead, and we would have been ahead of Stroll. But because of that flying issue, and when I landed, I was so flabbergasted that I wasn't reacting, and so I didn't accelerate out my pit box as quick as I could have, because I was so stunned, as you can imagine, from what I just witnessed. So we've had to make up now. We've overtaken Stroll, but we're trying to keep up with Lawson, because ultimately that's where we want to be. But Stroll was a real menace to overtake and took a little bit longer than I wanted, but now making up for it with a big kamikaze dive. At this point, I'm just kind of going, screw it. We've just got to go for these moves, because I've seen it all, and I just don't care anymore. We need to recover in this race. We need to do everything we can in this race after such a crazy incident, as we see Norris get overtaken by Colapinto. It was such a strong first stint for the Mercedes car, but Norris is now really falling away. Sainz is the lead Merc out in P4 and maybe challenging for a podium. Norris struggling to keep Colapinto at bay despite them both being on the hard compound. But with us on the medium, we absolutely have to get past these guys as quick as we can. Oh, mistake! Big mistake for us. Dip a tyre into the grass and our life flashes before our eyes again. This race just goes from bad to worse, maybe. That's a real bad mistake, and I literally have no excuse. That's a shocking mistake from me. We've dipped a tyre into the grass. It's such a rookie error there. On the rear left it was, and just like in real life, it snaps on you. At least, you know, that's quite good to see that there's enough realism there in the physics of this game where we did get a snap like you would see in real life, is we're now, you know, just again sending it, trying to make up for what just happened. This time it was our fault, so you know, I have no one else to blame, and so we're making up for just our own mistake basically, as we're now drifting it through the hairpin. We're really channeling that aggressive Leclerc energy like we were in Miami, and that was a real drift and a half. And here's actually a replay of that, just because it was actually quite impressive how we held it, as it's a perfect little drift through the hairpin, and actually pinpoint perfect. We didn't make any contact with Lawson's car as we made the pass, but yeah, just making up for that now. But we're now probably a couple of seconds further down the road than we should be because of that mistake. Lap 24, we're now leading this race as people have come in. Myself and Lawson again going long, but Lawson, I think, is slow. Yellow flags on the mini-map and behind us. And yes, Lawson is out of this race. He's having an engine failure, and Tramnitz now up to second, having made his second pit stop, by the way. So we have not seen Tramnitz or Piastri since the first stint. They've been nowhere to be seen because they've been so far ahead of everyone else. They carried that advantage they got in stint 1 all the way through here. Lap 26, we're still going on as Piastri sets a new fast lap of the Grand Prix, because I'm going even longer into this second stint to not only get us a tyre delta, but to get us a compound change. Instead of going to the hards as was pre-planned, I'm going on for that option, like I said, of the soft compound, because after Flygate, the mistake we made, I felt like the only way to recover truly in this race was to give us a turbocharged last stint, and it's another mistake on the pit stop. Hey, a silver lining. At least we didn't fly this time, huh? I can't believe I'm saying that. The silver lining in that slow pit stop was at least the car didn't launch several meters into the air. Okay then, right, that's how ridiculous things are getting here in the aarava Porsche racing team, as we're in P7. We've just narrowly got ahead of Aaron out the pit stops, but now using this soft tyre to close up. Norris, Gasly fighting a lot. Verstappen as well. So Verstappen, he was way behind all of us, wasn't he? But you know, earlier in this race. But now all of a sudden he's vaulted some people, and his fighting with Gasly's closed things up. So all of a sudden, could there be maybe at least a P5 on the card, maybe a P4 if Verstappen's tyres wear out? Colapinto looking very quick on the medium behind us. He's got the new fast lap of the Grand Prix, so that gets me a move on as we go into the hairpin to get Lando Norris into P6, but Colapinto showing some good pace, so that's kind of, you know, where we should be. We should be setting purples. I don't know why we're not so far. Maybe just the dirty air now from these guys, as Colapinto had a bit more clean air, but Gasly and Verstappen fighting. Gasly all in the mirrors of the Dutchman. So this is a fight for P4 that we can get involved with. After everything we've been through, a P4 would be outstanding for us, to be honest, as those two are side by side. Gasly going for the repass. And so even though Verstappen got ahead, I think he's vulnerable. I think Verstappen's basically pit early and he undercut those guys, because he undercut us as well. He was outside the top 10 or just P10 earlier. So I think he's made an earlier pit stop, it must be. And that's why now he's looking a bit slower in these last stages of the race. As we open up DRS, his light is flashing as well, so he's harvesting energy. We're going to do the same by not deploying too much, and we're going to wait into turn 1 to maybe get the pass done. You can see the grip level difference of our soft versus the hards. We're using all the battery down to single figures, launching it into turn 1, getting a bit wide on the exit to squeeze Verstappen out to get up into P5. P4 is there maybe with Pierre Gasly, and that would be a miracle work. Meanwhile, on towards the last lap of the Grand Prix, Tim Travnitz has dominated this from lights to flag. From pole position, he leads by nearly 6.5 seconds there to Oscar Piastri in second place, who himself is 12 seconds ahead. So those two in a world of their own. But Travnitz in a class of his own today, being spurred on from that. Oh, wow. No, you're joking. Really? On towards the last lap, our rear wing fails. Of course. Of course. It's laughable. It's everything that's happened to us in this race. And on the last lap, the rear wing fails. On cue. Of course. It wouldn't be a Season 4 F1 25 My Team episode without it, would it? Just brilliant. Absolutely. What else is going to happen? What else? What is the sensor going to fail now? And our heads-up display will disappear again onto the last lap? Come on. What you got for us? Unbelievable stuff. So Tim Travnitz on the other side of things, he's loving life. He's gone from second to now first in this race here. It's going to be, surprisingly, the reigning champion's first race win of this season. And it's going to be another different winner to add to the tally in this Season 4, as we are trying to fight Norris to maintain P5. P4 gone. No DRS, no chance to catch Gasly, and now Norris is pressurizing us into the final 2 corners. No! Oh, God! Mistake for us on the rear end. The tyre wears too much. He's got us. That so typifies our entire race there. Norris getting us on the line for P5, of course. Oh, we cannot catch a break, can we, driving as Leclerc sometimes? What a crazy race.
What an excellent performance this has been from Tim Travnitz, who takes the checkered flag to win.
There was never a moment of doubt today. You could tell that they completely had it under control, and that is a sign of greatness.
It's an insane victory for Tim Travnitz, a really convincing one for our reigning world champion. And like I said, it's his first win of the season. So are we now going to start to see the old Tim Travnitz from Season 3, a really focused and, assassin sort of driver, because he was so clinical a lot of times as an AI in Season 3. We're going to see that again in Season 4, but that's now both our drivers as AI really, maxing their potential. Leclerc last episode, this time for Travnitz, but I mean, the headline of the race is that flying glitch. I'm still flabbergasted by that. That was just... I just can't believe how much airtime we got. We literally got higher than the first level of Paddock Club. That's insane. Insane height. Guys, if you have enjoyed it, hit the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. A bonkers Canadian Grand Prix. And one we won't forget just simply because of that pit stop incident. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I'll catch you guys around. Goodbye.